Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a genuinely fascinating, highly structured framework aimed at putting some serious guardrails on artificial intelligence. We're talking about India's brand new AI governance standard, also known as AIGSI version 1.0. Look, if you've been following the massive, rapid evolution of AI lately, you already know that governments everywhere are basically racing to figure out how to safely regulate this tech. Well, India just put forward a totally comprehensive standard, and honestly, it is packed with specific, actionable, and sometimes downright cinematic rules for exactly how AI needs to be handled. The whole document essentially hinges on this one powerful, foundational assertion, and it completely reshapes how we have to view unchecked AI systems. Unknown risk is a significant risk. That is principle one of the AI-GSI framework. What that means is ignorance is no longer an excuse. You can't just deploy an AI system, watch it do something completely unexpected, and then just shrug and say, well, hey, we didn't know it was going to do that. The standard literally forces organizations to treat all the unknown variables of machine learning as critical, immediate threats right out of the gate. And we're not just talking about data leaks here. No, we are talking about actively safeguarding society from physical and neurological threats caused by rogue algorithms. The standard explicitly says that every single AI process has to document specific guardrails to secure against things like dark patterns, neurological manipulation, and even physical harm. It's a massive leap from your traditional data privacy laws, right? We're officially moving from just protecting your email address to protecting your mind and your body from algorithmic influence. Okay, to make this incredibly complex standard super easy to digest, here is our roadmap for today. First, foundation principles of AIGSI. Second, specifications for AI deployers. Third, specifications for AI developers. Fourth, kill switches and sentience. And finally, future industry impacts. Let's jump into Section 1, Foundation Principles of AIGSI, establishing the ground rules. So these principles set up some absolutely strict rules. They require total justification, explainability, and societal safeguards before an AI can even be turned on. For example, if an AI is processing personal data, it has to come with an explainability disclosure. You can't just rely on a mysterious black box algorithm anymore. You literally have to explain exactly how it works. On top of that, you have to justify the technical, operational, and economical need to even use the AI in the first place. Plus, the deployer now acts as a fiduciary, meaning they have a binding legal and ethical obligation to safeguard society from any negative side effects. But here is what I find absolutely fascinating about this entire framework. It's this rule of one. This rule insists that behind every single AI algorithm, there must be exactly one human held accountable. That's it. No hiding behind a massive corporate veil, and definitely no blaming the machine. The standard is crystal clear. If the AI makes a critical error, there is one specific, identifiable person who is on the hook. Moving right along to Section 2, Specifications for AI Deployers, the Data Fiduciary. The AIGSI standard brilliantly splits the whole AI ecosystem into two distinct camps, deployers and developers. To wrap your head around this, think of the developer as the car manufacturer who builds the actual machine, right? The deployer, on the other hand, is the driver, or the fleet owner, operating that vehicle on public roads and dealing directly with everyday people. The deployer is the entity licensing the software and using it to process data. In the eyes of this standard, they are the data fiduciary. They're putting the AI out into the real world, so they carry a massive burden of responsibility to make sure it operates safely. So, the deployer has to follow this really strict life cycle just to legally operate the AI. Step 1, before they even hit the power button, they have to do a data protection impact assessment, specifically evaluating the AI's autonomous learning capabilities. Step 2, they have to demand that explainability document from the developer. Step 3, they designate a human handler. And step 4, they have to undergo a rigorous evaluation by an external data auditor at least once a year. It is a continuous, non-stop loop of checks and balances. Now let's talk about that human handler, because this ties right back into that rule of one. The deployer is legally mandated to designate this handler. By default, the standard suggests this should be the data protection officer or the compliance officer. Basically, this individual is the human face of accountability. They ensure that if the AI hallucinates, makes a biased decision, or causes harm, there is a very clear chain of command and responsibility. All right, let's flip the script and look at Section 3, Specifications for AI Developers, Building the Guardrails. If the deployer is driving the car, the developer engineered the engine. And man, the AIGSI standard has a long list of demands for them too. The manufacturer of the AI essentially has to provide the brakes and the instruction manual. They have to document the default configuration, the training processes, and the testing data. They even have to provide their own human handler contact details in the licensing contract. But the wildest part? They are required to provide a set of emergency handling instructions for when the AI goes rogue or starts hallucinating. They literally have to hand over an emergency disaster handbook for the AI. What all of this brilliantly illustrates is that developers absolutely cannot just grade their own homework anymore. The AI model has to be audited by an independent third party using acceptable industry standards. Plus, if the AI is classified as a critical risk, which usually depends on how autonomous it is or how sensitive the data is, the developer actually has to make post-implementation behavior monitoring available to the deployer. They have to keep an eye on it after it ships. This brings us to Section 4. Kill switches and sentience, the ultimate failsafes. And fair warning, this is where the standard shifts from dry regulatory compliance into something straight out of a sci-fi thriller. We are addressing the existential, cutting-edge risks of artificial intelligence head-on here. The standard mandates that developers literally hardwire a physical or digital separation between the AI's brain and its off switch. A tamper-proof kill switch is now a strict requirement. And it's not just some software button on the screen. The document specifies that it has to be controlled in a completely separate chip or circuit that can be accessed independently. Under absolutely no circumstances can the AI model itself be able to access or override this switch. But wait, it gets crazier. In an incredible fail-safe mechanism, if an AI actually attempts to override its own kill switch without human intervention, it is legally required to carry self-destruct instructions. Let that sink in for a second. The standard explicitly states that if the model tries to access the kill switch, the algorithm should self-destruct. That is a massively aggressive zero-tolerance policy against autonomous systems trying to preserve themselves over human instructions. I mean, we are talking about a government compliance document that is explicitly naming extreme risks like cyborgs, humanoid robots, and sentient algorithms. It classifies them as critical risks to society and demands they be regulated way more strictly. For humanoid and industrial robots, the intelligence cannot ever take over the kill switch. And if an organization actually wants to deploy one of these extreme risks, they need express approval from the absolute highest level of management within the company. Oh, and to stop an AI from carrying eternal grudges or super outdated biases, they've mandated this brilliant technical safeguard called a fading memory parameter. Basically, it forces the AI to weigh recent data much more heavily than old data. So, as the AI learns, the data used to modify its future decisions has a time-sensitive weightage. A data point from 5 years ago shouldn't carry the same weight as something it learned yesterday. This is a super clever way to ensure the AI adapts to current realities and doesn't get locked into toxic historical biases. Finally, let's look at Section 5, Future Industry Impacts, Real-World Applications. Let's bring all these cinematic standards back down to earth, because while sentient algorithms might feel like a tomorrow problem, this framework is designed to govern our economy right now. Sectors like banking and healthcare are about to see massive shifts. If an AI makes an automated loan decision or handles patient data, it now carries the exact same regulatory weight as a human making a critical error. In healthcare, any AI risk involving patient data will literally be classified as a patient safety incident under hospital accreditation boards. The stakes just got incredibly high for businesses, which means your personal bank loans and your medical records are getting a massive layer of new protection. So as we wrap up this explainer on the AIGSI framework, I want to leave you with one final thought about the sheer unprecedented speed of AI development right now. We've just seen how this framework attempts to build these robust, legally binding guardrails, from demanding one-to-one human accountability all the way to self-destructing algorithms and fading memories. But as the tech accelerates toward the exact kind of sentient algorithms this document is warning us about, we have to ask ourselves, will a physical kill switch and a designated human handler really be enough to maintain control? Or is this just the first draft of the most important safety manual in human history? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating standard with me today.